Hey, how are ya? I got my quarantine hair rocking here, and yeah, the lockdown do we'll call it. I should be outside doing something useful today, but I'm in here making a video. RMK 900, 2006 RMK 900. I bought it sometime midsummer. I seen it on Facebook Marketplace. So it was really cheap. The guy claimed it was good to go. I knew it wasn't. I knew there was stuff wrong with it, but I picked it up anyways. So went through it front to back, picked away at it through the course of the summer and fall. Um, Went through everything. I was able to find all the parts to fix it up for super cheap used, and a couple of new parts that were super cheap. So I got into this sled really cheap, and watch the video. There's a video of it running at the end. So that's all I got, guys. It's still gonna need shocks. The front shocks are like just racked. The chrome rods are bent at the ends and they're just destroyed. The back shocks are rebuildable, but they're flat. So it still needs that. And it could use a set of slides, needs scratchers. A few little things, but budget warranting, it's running for now. So if anyone's got any RMK 900 shocks or Dragon shocks, hit me up. I don't got much money to pay for them, but if you want to make a nice donation, I'm into that. So this thing's kind of done up. It's got an SLP can, full SLP pipe, SLP head, SLP Y pipe. It's got a fire and ice intake. But look here, so those ports must be for the heated throttle body. The intake's in the front on this motor. From there, so that almost be a system for the heated throttle bodies. So is that some kind of upgrade to delete the heated throttle body? I don't know. This sled's got some. See, it's got the cool big wheel kit in the back and the big remote reservoir shock. So it's it's a done up unit back in its day. I don't know anything about these sleds, so I'm just kind of learning as I go. I don't know what you can see, but that motor in there is loose. Anyways, the motor's loose in there. The guy bought it off of, drove it very little, but one thing he said is that the bit he did run it, it blew a belt. So first thing I checked was the motor, and I grabbed the motor and you can shake it up and down. It's loose. You can see that motor mount's moving. And you read about these things, one weak point in them is the motor mounts. But if you look way in there at the front mount, it's hard to see on camera here. The front mount way down there, there's a bolt missing. The whole mount's moving. Well, there you go. See that bolt's poking through, that bolt's not there. That bolt came out and it caused the motor mount to crack. And that's my issue. But these bolt up from the bottom, and then that plate bolts in from the inside way down there. This bolts from the outside there, so I don't know. Looks like I'm gonna have to dang near pull the motor out to get those mounts out. And that mount's pretty slack too. Probably because it was taking all the pressure because the front mount wasn't doing nothing, so figure it out. Mild scoring, but nothing to worry about. Inside of that bore just looks lovely. Bottom side of that piston looks lovely. So I tested the compression on this thing when I got it, and it's right up perfect. 120, 125. I think it was 125 and 130, I think, which is perfect for this thing. So we're starting off with a good motor by the looks of things. The inside That carb boot is torn. I don't know if you can see it or not, but anyways, it's torn on the inside there. It's not tore through yet, but you know, I'm sure it will be eventually. So carb boots aren't something that you should be messing with, so I need one of those. That bearing's got play in it, so anyways, I guess I can't avoid the inevitable. I'm probably just gonna pull the motor. Okay, so these 900 motors, they're actually 866 cc or something like that. But the front here, there's reeds in the front. With the front throttle bodies, that's air intake. So all that gets sucked in here is air. Then your oil pump is here. So your oil lines go to your main bearings and then go directly into your base. The fuel injectors are in the back side of the engine. And everything's timed. It's a really long stroke motor. Like the stroke is almost the same as the bore. So they're kind of not a real high rev, and they're a real torque monster motor. So they're made when the crank lobe is coming up, the injector fires, and that helps push your fuel up to the top. And then the oil's injected directly into the base. So this is air only, fuel only, then your oil's in the bottom. So this air intake that goes in the front, buddy put these hoses on. He put some kind of JB Weld or something, and he really gobbed it on. So, all right, okay, sure, if it works. Now, I pulled out this reed, and I was like, oh yeah, it's got a set of V-Force 3 reeds, and they're just toast. Pulled out this reed. Yikes! Have you ever seen a reed that bad? It was running like that too. If you look right there, big goober of that JB Weld. So a bunch of that JB Weld broke off and went in through the motor, which is awesome. So anyways, we need reed pedals, one motor mount, exhaust gaskets, and then I'm going to start doing driveline bearings. Well, so far the exhaust valve looks good. That's what's in there. It's a diaphragm. It's a rubber diaphragm that works under pressure, that slides this back and forth, and that varies their exhaust ports. These ones run off a little vacuum line to a little solenoid thing. So I'm not sure exactly how they work. The old school exhaust valves, there's a little hole there that goes into your cylinder. When that builds cylinder pressure, it puffs that diaphragm up and opens that. That's how the old ones work. So these ones are the same, just a bit different. I just want to make sure the diaphragm's in good shape, clean all the goop off, and make sure these aren't cracked or coming apart. But so far that all looks great. You're not going to see it probably, but in there is an SLP torque arm kit, and it's a little bracket that bolts to the motor, and then it goes down the body. It's like a little ball joint thing that bolts down to the body. And I didn't realize this had an SLP torque arm kit, and I'm glad it does, because that counteracts the soft motor mount issues these engines have. So that's in behind the clutch. So I unbolted all the motor, unhooked everything. I couldn't get it out, and I had a heck of a time getting the motor lifted up to get those motor mounts off. But it's all because of that thing. So to properly uninstall it, you got to pull the clutch off and unbolt it. But I think I can work around that. There. Here's the view of that torque arm. It bolts in the hole down there. It bolts to the back. It's an aftermarket accessory because these things have really soft engine mounts. So you're supposed to pull off the clutch to access that, but it's able to pull the motor ahead forward enough to get the bottom bolt out. That was loose anyway, so now I should be able to get the motor up enough that I can get the front motor mounts. Yeah, I got to get the motor pulled right up out of there to get that motor mount plate back underneath the front there. So See on the crank there, it says 212. They got stuff engraved there, stuff engraved there. The piston and the cylinders look real good. I was just thinking this completely blew up and there's scrapyard parts in it, or maybe there's some kind of wild built engine. I don't know, man. It's gonna be interesting to try it out and see what it's all about. I know nothing about this thing. Now we see right there, right behind the connecting rod in the back of the cylinder, right back there. See that little round thing? That's your fuel injectors. Injects from the back, and it's made so when the crank comes up, and it's timed, when the lobe comes up to a certain point, the injector fires, and that forces the charge up to the top. That's the design of the old 900 torque monster. They're not a real high revving engine, but they're a real high torque engine. Yeah, dude. It's gonna be wicked. See, part of the SLP kit, to add a bump stop here under the rewind, so when the motor torques, right, just to counteract the soft motor mounts that these things come with. But this one wasn't even sat up, so I cranked it with a pair of pliers, snugged it up nice and snug to the cover, and did the jam nut. And the stock bump stop on the other side, originally it wasn't even touching the motor. So when I get all back together, I'm going to crank the other bump stop tight. That with the torque arm and the new motor mount, geez, should be nice and solid. Slowly coming back together. So the second bump stop is here. Whoop. So I'm going to crank that down as tight as I can get it. And that torque arm goes underneath. It goes at a forward angle like that. Bump stops there. So that's a nice solid triangulation to hold it. And then the other bump stops there. So with the stock soft motor mounts, you add that extra stuff in there, and that really adds some rigidity to it so it doesn't bind up. So yeah, that should be good. See, before that torque arm bolt was wore loose, front motor mount was broke, and this bump stop was way away from the motor. Like it was moving so much, it was hitting there. And whatever was going on there, it was wearing. So she was right loose. But even before I tightened this up, you couldn't even budge the motor. Now, with that tightened up, she's just like, it's like a rock. So that's, just gotta reassemble, fill her with coolant, bleed the air out of it, and then move on to the next step on this thing. Yeah, good thing I pulled the cover. Check that out. There was play in it. I just changed this little flange, which was non-expensive. Boom, tight. Chain case back together. Chain tension, new oil in there. Whew. It's my new little tarp shed. We'll talk more about that some other day. So here's the air intake. Here's where it was all melted. So I figured the guy was trying to use tape and this and that, and it kept burning off. So I figured the best thing to use is high heat silicone. So there's a big hole here and it was all melted, and this was all misshapen. So I took a lighter and heated up the area and tried to bend it all back straight so this rubber gasket thing fit over. This rubber thing is all burnt there. So I stuck it together and I just filled her with silicone. I think I might do another layer of silicone here and put some kind of heat blanket or something and glue it down. There's those. These were JB welded on. And that's the JB weld. There's all the gobby chunks hanging in here that went into the engine. So I took my die grinder and smoothed down the JB weld. You know, give her a JB weld port job. And removed any hanging, loose looking stuff and then re-siliconed it to seal it. So I think that's okay. And I'm going to have to put it on, close the hood and see how this seals. And I might have to do something about that, but we're on the right track. All right, we just got a little crack here. Whee! So I got these nice little handy dandy 1/16 stainless rods. These things are wicked. I'm just gonna whip the old Thunderbolt, and we're moments away from having this 900 running. Pretty exciting. Oh yeah, sure ride. My biggest thing was not burning through, and I didn't. So I welded it with a stainless rod, and this is a ceramic coated pipe. So where the coating came off, I'm just gonna hit it with some high heat black just so it doesn't rust. It's underneath, you'll never see it, but. All right. We're cooking. Boom. Pipes on. You see here how close this gets to that? That's why it kept melting it. So I got a red high heat siliconed it. Then I put another layer to fill the melted holes. Then after that dried, I put a whole coat of high heat silicone. Then I put some high heat silicone on the back side of this fire blanket and glued it on. So now, you know, this tape was only good for like 2 something. This silicone's good for like 6 something. Plus this fire blanket. But you get a nice thick coating. So this high heat silicone glues the hole shut, glues the fire blanket on, and it acts as a thermal barrier. So it's got fire blanket, it's got this thermal barrier of silicone, and then it's the plastic. And then when I put it on, I pre-did this all in the house when it was warm, and I had this cocked that way too much. When I pulled it over in place, it kind of wrinkled this, so it kind of made a hole here. So it might have still sealed on top, I don't know. So I just got in there with the silicone all the way around and made sure that was real good and sealed. So I got a good seal. I don't know why, but Buddy at one point in time put some of this stuff on, and then it had some open corners, so I siliconed the corners shut a bit. But that coincides with this, and I tested it and it makes a nice seal. So there, now I got a good sealed intake. See, goes on the motor there and there. So there, now I got a good sealed intake system, right? And so I'm gonna suck out the old gas. I'm gonna suck the old gas out, put some new gas in, and I still got some stuff to do with ski bushings and stuff, but I got the front elevated and I want to let it run with the front up to gurgle the air out of the coolant system. So I want to suck the old gas out, get some new gas, put it in, and let her run and try to get the coolant system all good to go, get the air out of it, and we're close. I'm gonna put the cab on right now. First start, wait, fall off the jack stands. All right, she's a big boy. I guess it can only fall once. And there you go, a bit of a long one, but I put it all in there just in case someone was going through similar things on an RMK that they want to see. Any questions about anything that I do, ask me and I'll let you know to the best of my ability. I love all you guys. Thanks a lot. We'll catch you on the next one.